So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bilge Ozkan. I'm a PhD candidate in the Information and Computing Sciences Department at Utrecht University in the Netherlands. And my co-author is Marcus Spruit. He is my supervisor and he's an associate professor in the department. So I'm here to present our paper addressing SME characteristics for designing information security maturity models. Here is the outline of my talk. First, I will talk about our motivation. Then I will talk about SMEs in the cyber ecosystem, challenges in the information domain, SME characteristics, and maturity modeling concept and general design principles for maturity models. And also the design requirements we have derived for information security maturity models for SMEs. So uh, we have been working in the SIMSEC Horizon 2020 project since June 2017, and it ended last month actually. And SIMSEC is an acronym for Protecting Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Digital Technology Through an Innovative Cybersecurity Framework. In this project, we have been working on developing a cybersecurity maturity model specifically for SMEs. So the purpose of this paper is, the purpose of this paper is to guide research on information security maturity modeling for SMEs to increase usability and applicability of the maturity models and promote organizational learning and development. So SMEs are in the cyber ecosystem. They make more than 99% of the European enterprises in the OECD area. To give an example of their presence, the European Digital SME Alliance represents about 20,000 digital SMEs. So they are major players in the cyber ecosystem. As we all know, there are challenges in the information security domain. The domain is quite complex. It entails cybersecurity, application security, network, internet, physical security, subdomains, and it entails broad body of knowledge, including threats, vulnerabilities, countermeasures, skills, awareness, and education. There are additional challenges for SMEs. Lack of awareness, resources, and expertise makes it even more challenging for them. So what are the characteristics of SMEs? Here you see a set of characteristics proposed by Coca and Alberti. They conducted a literature review and analyzed many papers focusing on SMEs in different fields of science. Their findings were grouped into two, internal characteristics and external characteristics. And the factors related to external environment are typically outside the control of the organization, and the implementation of the maturity models are often considered as part of improvement initiatives, and they primarily depend on the internal environment of the organization. So in our research, we focused on the internal characteristics of the SMEs. So about the maturity modeling approach, it originates from software engineering and that dates back to 1990s, and it's a method for representing domain-specific knowledge in a structured way to provide organizations with an evaluationary process for assessment and improvement. If we visualize this, we have the information security domain knowledge and the SMEs or any kind of organization, and there is a bridge, there is a gap in between. So one way to bridge this gap could be the information security maturity models, the usage of these models. So the maturity models enables capability assessment and improvement, as well as for comparative comparison issues. They can provide benchmarking internally or for other organizations externally. But the question is, how can information security maturity models address the characteristics and requirements of the SMEs? There are several existing information security maturity models. A review in 2016, Li and Hong have identified and analyzed 12 cybersecurity maturity models. but they do not specifically address SMEs, and this results in implementation processes to be ineffective and that the capabilities can be irrelevant or inapplicable for the SMEs, and SMEs will not be able to reach to higher maturity levels in these models. So the need for situation-aware information security stems from the fact that the finite resources have to be used in the optimal way, producing the required results for the organizations. So in our research, we take the input of SME characteristics, the internal SME characteristics, and the general design principles for the maturity models. And we identified design requirements for information security maturity models for SMEs. And these design requirements, we considered them as an input for the design of information security maturity models for SMEs. And the resulting artifact will be the maturity model itself. So the research question we focused on is how can SME characteristics be addressed for designing information security maturity models? So about the design principles, first of all, a principle is a clear statement of truth that guides or constrains an action. And design principles define the structure, organization, um, and functioning of the design product or design method. The design product here, we talk about the information security maturity model. So Popelbos and Roglinger proposed a framework for general design principles for maturity models. There are several kinds of, actual three kinds of maturity models according to their purpose of uses. So the first one is the descriptive one. These models focus on the assessment of the SS capabilities of the organizations. And the prescriptive ones provide on how to proceed on the evolutionary path of the maturity model. And the comparative ones um, enable internal and external benchmarking through the assessment results. So here are the general design principles proposed by Popelbos and Roglinger. They propose 9 design principles in total categorized by their purpose of use. We use these design principles, but the question is how can we map those design principles to the SME characteristics, and how can we drive the design requirements for the maturity models, information security maturity models for SMEs. Here you see on the columns the design principles proposed by authors Popelbos and Roglinger, and the SME characteristics. Here you see just the keywords we derived to recall them easily in the rows. So the question is, how can we map them? I'm going to give an example of what we did. So an example design principle for prescriptive purpose of use is improvement measures for each maturity level and level of granularity. So we identified SME characteristics related to this design principle. The most important ones are the learning by doing processes and incremental improvements and adjustments. So SMEs most of the time learn by doing, and they incrementally improve and adjust their processes. So the loose and flat structure and lack of bureaucracy can facilitate the decision-making processes and might be considered important for this design principle. For this design principle, we identified 2 design requirements. So the first one is the improvement measures should be organized in small and achievable steps. And the second one is the improvements required to progress to the next maturity level should be explicit for the SMEs. So here we see the related SME characteristics in the table, the structure of the SME learning by doing processes and the improvements by step-by-step improvement characteristics. And here we see the design principle. So in the intersection of those, we identified the related design requirements to be met by the information security maturity models for SMEs. So in this paper, we have identified 16 design requirements in this format as a mapping of design principles, general design principles, and the SME characteristics. So to conclude, this paper is part of an ongoing research to develop an ISMM for SMEs. So one can systematically account for diverse SME characteristics and profiles, thereby increase the potential usability and applicability of the resulting maturity model. And for future research, we identified 2 points. The design requirements are not validated, so assessing the validity of the proposed design requirements by means of evaluation by SMEs or maturity model developers, and reviewing a set of existing information security maturity models concerning the proposed design requirements. So thank you for listening. This was all for my presentation, and any questions and comments are very welcome.